Welcome to the Atlanteans, a podcast about Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms, created by the Hampton Road Atlantean gaming community. And now to our hosts. Hey guys, this is Jay, and welcome to episode 15 of the Atlanteans. With me today is Alec. How you doing, Alec?
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been I've been sick the last 2 weeks or so, pretty much. I'm doing okay right now. I've been out. I was able to finally get out and exercise this week and play some games.
Glad to hear that. I know we've had a hard time linking up at the game store.
Yeah, I think I've seen you once this entire year so far.
Yeah, well, I feel like when I'm out there, you're not,
right?
And
Exactly.
when you're out there, I'm not.
Pretty much.
I mean, at least we're getting coverage down on making sure that someone's there to cover down for the community.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm actually going to take a break from organizing games for after March is over, because I need a little break. So I'm going to take a break in April and May. I'm still going to be around on the podcast. I'm still going to be out. I'm still going to be talking. I'll be painting and doing things, but because this is my hobby and this is what I do in my spare time for fun. But I definitely need a break from organizing and sort of pushing the club, because it's been a real struggle the last 6 or 8 months.
Can understand that, man. I understand. I hope you are able to take a little bit of a break and then come back,
and more energized and more excited. I'm gonna spend a bunch of time working on terrain and working on models and trying to amp my excitement back up for the game.
That's a good idea. I can't wait to see that.
So, with that said, what are you working on right now, Alec? So Alec is streaming this episode currently, and we're recording this. You'll be able to see the VOD on YouTube along with the podcast.
Right now, I am painting Lylyth 5. SFG was super awesome, and they sent this to me early. Now, I had to pay for it.
Yep.
I pre-ordered it, and I'm going to be doing a painting series that we could talk about later if you want, or we could talk about it now. But
let's talk about
they
it
sent
now.
me this so that I can get it. So the painting series is going to be called Let's Get You Painted. And it is all about trying to get people painted as quickly as possible, efficiently as possible, so that they are ready to go to things like steamrollers and if they want to go to iron gauntlets,
Right.
Because not everybody wants to paint, to super awesome. So I'm going to try to get people painting to tabletop or my tabletop quality. And I can just teach them some tips and tricks that I know. And I am trying to get the Lylyth done in 2 hours total.
Okay.
And then I am trying to get the Chimera side of the
Shadow and Scum.
Shadow and Scum box. I always want to say Scum and Shadow, but
it's actually
Shadows.
Shadows with an apostrophe S and Scum. Shadows and Scum.
So with the SNS box, I want to try to get that done in 5 hours. I've been doing it. I'll be honest. I
think 5 hours is pretty bold.
Well, especially trying to do 5 colors, not including black and white.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be closer to 7.5 to 8 hours. Maybe more. We'll see.
Yeah, I would guess 10 to 12 at the bare minimum.
Well, I mean, so some of the things I'm doing when I'm painting this is there are areas where you could differentiate like different types of steel and stuff like that. But instead, I'm going to go with a standardized dark silver on it.
Okay.
And then one of the things that when I'm done with this, it's not actually truly done. I'm just trying to get people to the tabletop quality, and then I have a whole other series that I'm planning on doing to try to get them from tabletop to a little bit of a higher quality. And that's one of those ones where if someone wants to do it, they can. But if they don't, just ignore the video and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's so for me, that's what So when I paint, I have like a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. And level 1 is just, a basic painted model, quick, easy, base coats, a wash usually, and then like maybe 1 or 2 highlights on surfaces that I think could use it. And
Mhm.
usually you can get that done in an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours for a unit or something like that. And it's pretty simple and just makes the models tabletop ready and playable. And then because it's paint, you can always paint over paint. You can then go in and add shadow and highlight and depth and push it. And so my level 2 is shadow and highlight, and then my level 3 is extra effects like rust or patina or blood or snow on the bases and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's pretty similar to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make sure that people understand that like the level 1 is perfectly okay
Mm-hmm.
because like I've told you that sometimes I've seen with other like really fancy painters
Yeah.
that they're like, "Oh, you should always do this." Well,
No.
I mean, personally me,
So
like there are times I will paint higher quality and there's times I'll just paint tabletop.
so the one thing to gauge, and it's actually something that I've been struggling with in my painting recently, is that a lot of paint manufacturers design their line, so like Proacryl, for example, designs their line to paint from you start at the darkest color and then you lay up to the top layer, and that doesn't really lend itself well to painting in a get the model base painted and then add shadow and highlight to it mechanic. I've actually struggled with using the paint to a mid-tone first, get the model tabletop ready, and then shade and highlight using Proacryl. And I feel that like painting like GW paints and Proacryl probably don't lend themselves super well to that philosophy.
I mean,
Um,
I also did the Kickstarter for P3.
right.
So
Well,
we will see.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed, and my experience is using the old P3s for the past 15 years or so. I'm hoping that the new P3s work that way as well, and that we're able to do the paint to the mid tone and then add shadow and highlight. And be the thing that I'm struggling with the most with Proacryl is I can't thin the paint down and make it into glazes and washes, so I can't glaze in shadows like I do with P3.
Oh yeah, I understand that. I mean, I've I use a wide variety of paints.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some P3s I use still, like some of my old ones,
Well,
and then
yeah. So I was
um,
hoping to do a paint series too, and so have abandoned old P3 because it's basically discontinued, and I've I've been trying to paint my Orgoth and it have been failing left, right, and center. And I've actually gone back to P3 and I'm just using the Proacryl for like base coats and for certain things like flesh, or
mhm.
for I really like the warm brown color as a basis for leather and stuff like that.
I mean, we should hopefully, I think in the next month or so, if they keep to timeline, we should have those new P3s
So
with us.
so we know that the new P3 has been they finished production, and
Yeah, they talked about that on
they
Kickstarter.
said that they're going to start shipping to the UK, Asia, European backers in April. So then the US and will be after that. So we'll probably see the US stuff in the end of April and May, and then we'll probably won't see it in stores until like June, probably. This would be my guess.
Yes. So that's where I'm going to luck out a little bit by doing the Kickstarter.
Yep.
Um,
So I'm really looking forward to new P3. Um,
so am I. Now you wanted to have the pots. You don't want droppers.
well, right. And I'm still gonna I'm either gonna do a new cap on the existing bottle, or rebottle them because I can't stand dropper bottles. And I am worried that they're in dropper bottles because that means that they're gonna have to be thinner than the current P3 line. Which makes me worried for thinning and painting directly and things like that.
Now, you and I both have older P3s. Are you
Right.
going to try to do, or do you want to do a comparison
Um,
between old ones and new ones?
I absolutely, that's something I want to do. So Real quick, your painting series, where are you going to be posting those? Have you figured that out
So
yet?
I did. I actually was able to get on YouTube,
Okay.
um, and I was able to get "Let's Get You Painted."
I mean, is that
So
the
that way,
name of the channel?
yeah, that's the name of the channel.
Okay.
Um, and because I'm not gonna just like, I even talked about this with like Taylor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he's gonna be on it or anything, but
Right.
one of the things I'm trying to do is not just paint, SFG, not
Right.
just paint War Machine. I'm gonna try to paint everything, and I
Okay.
have a wide variety of stuff. And I'm hoping that will get me to a wider audience. That then maybe if they want to explore War Machine, they can. If not, that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it's gonna be definitely a wider. Whereas, I mean, with the Atlanteans, we definitely cover mostly War Machine.
Yeah, and the Atlanteans will be going forward will always be just a War Machine, probably SFG. So if we ever stray into some of the privateer press IP uh associated stuff in the future, that will be
Hmm.
that SFG is taken over. We'll probably talk about that here on the Atlanteans, but it will always be a War Machine centric dedicated channel. I do have my own YouTube channel as well, Big Nerdy Gamer. So if I ever decide to do painting stuff on or discuss stuff about other games, that content will go into that channel.
Okay,
Um,
that sounds like a
but
good idea.
I definitely plan to do once you get your painting series going, and once I have access to P3, I'm definitely going to do a painting series of my own. And I
Hmm.
probably will be spouting pretty much the same rhetoric as you. I'm probably will be using different techniques, and that's totally
Okay.
fine.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I'm all about you do you.
right.
Like one of the things that like Dallas really kind of encouraged with me years ago. That's Dallas Kemp. He used to be a great or he is a great painter, but he used to paint at Privateer, and now he's
Right.
at MCP. Um, just paint and have fun. Like paint what works for you, and
Hmm.
that's the most important thing. And that's what I try to encourage as well.
Yep. All right.
So yeah,
So,
like if you want to paint your way, like I'm all about that. You should
yep.
definitely paint your way.
All right. So I think we've talked enough about P3, and I think we need to get into the topic because you and I could go on talking about random stuff for the
A
rest
long
of the
time.
show. And I think
Yeah,
the next podcast might be you, me, and Joe talking about random stuff for the whole cast. So
I'm okay with that. I
yeah,
can
there's
I
lots
can
of
chat for
developments
forever
and
while
lots of
painting.
new models to come out and talk about, and lots of experiments with playing games recently for all of us online or in person. And so we've plenty of opportunity to that. And I think the next cast is going to be about that with Joe once he's done with his. He's unfortunately was unable to join us tonight. Um, but you and I have
We miss
another
you,
topic
Joe.
that we want to talk about, right?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about fluff of
Mm-hmm.
the Iron Kingdoms and where it is and where it's been and all that good excitement.
Yeah,
And
and I
you and I both have loved the fluff for years.
yeah, and I definitely want to touch on both where the story is currently in Warmachine, and then where the story is in IK, and how that varies and is different. I think.
Hmm.
So let's start. So is there anything about the current War Machine fluff that you are really excited about, or interested in, or stories that you've read that you really have loved?
Well, I did the Kickstarter for Strangelight, and then recently
So that's not War
they
Machine.
I mean, well, I was gonna say
War
that like
Machine.
the we're in the Menoth fluff. It definitely that's just covered in.
All right, so let's talk
So I guess
Strangelight
okay.
then.
So
We can talk about War Machine in a minute.
no, it's okay. We
No,
if you
no,
want to talk straight.
no. Let's talk Strangelight
I
now.
like
That's fine.
okay. I like that we're getting updates in the universe, and I really like that we are getting the new updates for um like specifically the Protector of Menoth. I really liked the 2 or 3 pages we got on Ord because I feel like we really got a deep dive, not a full like a dive into what's going on with them, and I feel like we don't get that much, and I'm really excited. I
So
mean,
one of the
go ahead.
things that the Strangelight book definitely did, and I'm so for those that are listening to us in March of 2025, the Strangelight book has been released as a PDF. It kickstarted last year in 2024. The rulebook has been released a PDF to the backers, but the actual physical books have not been put out yet. So what we're talking about now, for those of you that haven't looked at your PDF and are waiting for the hardback to come out, this, if you want to skip over this, I'll put a note and you can skip ahead. But the Strangelight book is out, and Alec and I have both read through the initial fluff, and we really, really like what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm most excited about is it really gives us a sense of what's going on with a lot of the old characters from Mark III and before in the Warmachine fluff. It definitely shows development in a lot of character stories, and it gives us some clues on some characters that some of us thought could be dead, some of us thought could be missing, and it sort of gives us insight into what's going on. So, you being Menoth the fanboy, you wanna start with the fun developments of Menoth and what's going on with them?
So the major things that have happened is in the mainland Menoth.
Right.
So it's basically Menoth. The Protector of Menoth has broken into 3 separate sections.
Mm-hmm.
You have the mainland Menoth, then you have the mainland. Then you have one on a different continent, or they're on the same continent as Brineblood,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the Protectorate of Menoth that are on Zoo. Now, the mainland are currently being led by Mk4 Krios.
Right.
Now, he has not taken over the
He
Snod.
is not the hierarch.
Yeah, he's not, and it's because they offered it to him and he said no.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do it. He is still the intercessor. But one of the things he did do is he did break down the priesthood
Mm-hmm.
After the fight with Fiora, and now they're kind of being sort of led by Pyrrhus, who used to be Fiora's, or one of Fiora's lieutenants,
Mm-hmm.
or similar to a lieutenant.
Who we thought originally died in the Henchhold Scroll. There's a bit of narrative in the there's a mini crate of him as as a character lantern man for the Hollowmen for Grimkin.
Yeah, his spear is actually holding the lantern.
Yep.
So everyone was very surprised when we found out he was alive. Mm-hmm. I mean, excited too. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Because it's a character from the past that is still going strong.
Yep. And not just a character, but a playable model from the past.
Yes. Well, I don't know if he's going to be.
Well, I don't know if he'd be playable in the future, but
as of right now,
he was a model in the previous Menoth army in the past, and a pretty good model too.
Yeah. And so that's interesting to see he is alive, and then you have Serena is also still alive, and she is leading the Exemplar forces under Krios. Then you have some other characters have not actually been mentioned, so they haven't mentioned where Harbinger is. Now, the last we heard, we thought maybe she was dead because Barnabas, Barney, took a big bite out of her when he was blinded and ascending into godhood.
Mm-hmm. But the fluff the fluff where she is really crazy, because she's sort of like wandering around Lael and Southern Kador, and whenever her band of people show up, a few people feel like they have to join her and join her. So it's almost like the Wild Hunt.
It is. Well, and she still has Resnick with her. She has Testament with her.
I didn't see Resnick. I saw Testament. I don't think they specifically mentioned Resnick.
Oh, it's Avatar. So you're right. It is Resnick. So it's Testament Menoth, which is the High Reclaimer. Mm-hmm. Then you have Harbinger, and then Avatar of Menoth is not her Warjack, but he's kind of her Warjack. He
And
is a direct manifestation and controlled by Menoth itself.
the other fun thing is they also mention that at the end of the Menos section that a prominent paladin has rejoined her retinue.
Yes, but he is not named.
He's not named, but it's pretty obvious.
I mean,
He did
maybe.
carry her dead body back to Voil to have him resurrect her.
So I read that differently.
Did you?
I thought maybe um, that um, Durst
No,
came back from
Durst is
Zoo.
specifically mentioned as one of the
Oh,
people
did they?
ruling the City of Flame.
Okay.
Yeah,
So for some reason I thought maybe he came back and because it said return to her retinue. No, if it's
yeah.
Villamon, I love that because
I'm pretty sure it's Vilmon because he's
I
not
I love
mentioned in
his.
the City of Flame at all, but a lot of the other Paladin characters are. Um, and uh, and at the end they mention a notable hero of Paladins have gone back and rejoined her retinue.
I think you meant that Durst is in the city of Wall, not the city of Flame. So the city of
Oh yeah,
Flame is where
City of Wall.
Feyre
You're right.
is.
Yeah, City of Wall. City of
Yeah.
Wall. Yeah.
So the city of Flame is actually where Tristan is, and he is not hierarch yet either because
No,
he
City
does.
of Flame is Fiora.
No, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. City of Wall.
Yeah.
So Tristan is in charge of the city of Wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm screwed. The city of Wall, but he also doesn't want to
Yep.
be the hierarch, which is kind of humorous to me.
Though they call him the voice of Menoth now.
They do. They do. I'm really hoping he is going to be a playable character when we
Yeah.
get Zumenoth.
It'll be
I know.
interesting. Well, so one of the things is this. So one of the important details to note about the IKRPG fluff is that it's before the invasion of the Orgoth. And so this fluff that we're talking about right now happens like estimated somewhere between like 5 and 10 years before the Orgoth invade and start the Warmachine story. So there could be a lot of development if we see a protectorate army. I mean, the different factions could come back together. That you could get one army is the city of the wall, one army is the city of the flame, or one army could be Krios, and you could get a cadre from one of the others.
Do you think Krios might be the cadre and City of Wall and City of Flame would be the two
I
factions?
don't know. So I'm hoping that the City of Wall gets to be an army because there's a lot of potential for future developments with the areas around Zoo because in the fluff, they're introducing the Ragemonger and the Southern Creoles, which are right next to Scorn. So that would be a way to bring Scorn in because they'd be able to fight with Scorn. We mentioned this in the Brian Blood podcast that we did with our last episode, but there's a lot of opportunity for stuff to come about in Zoo and the continent right above Zoo, the region right above Zoo where the Southern Creoles
Island and the
is.
marshes.
Yeah, and I definitely think that we'll likely see the Southern Creoles army sooner than later. So giving them some regional people to fight against would make sense. And
Mm-hmm.
so having the City of Wall be the first army that they do would make
I
sense.
mean, the
But
City of Flame.
the City
City.
of
So
no,
the
the City
city.
of
City
Wall,
of.
City of Wall is the one that's in Zoo. City of
Oh,
Flame
so
is the one that's in the Bloodstone Marches.
yeah, no, that's what I mean. But the Brine Blood are near the City of Flame. They're not near the
No,
city
they're
of.
right across the water from the City Wall.
Oh, is that what it? Okay.
I mean, they might be near the City of Flame. I honestly am not 100% sure where it is, but the City of Wall is the one that's in Zoo. The City of Wall is the Paladins
Well,
and
yeah, with
they're the
Tristan
one that's actually
and
in the jungles of Zoo. They're right across the bay from the the Southern Creoles.
gotcha. For some reason, I thought the Southern Creoles were near the Bloodstone Marshes.
I think the Bloodstone
Oh no,
Marches are
it's the
like north of
Croaks.
them.
The Croaks.
The
That's what I'm screwing up. That's what we were talking about with Joe. The
Yeah.
Croaks are in the Bloodstone Marshes.
Well, the
Because
Croaks are
when
right or to the what to the east of in the along the bay. They're to the east of, so they're probably closer to the Bloodstone Marches, but they're like right. They're like right next to Scorn, because Scorn has sent slavers to try and enslave them, and they've killed them all.
yeah, it didn't go well for them.
Yeah. So I think they're actually like slightly west and south of Scorn. I could be getting my directions completely
No, I
wrong.
mean it's.
I think
I feel like sometimes they
the
give us a
region
map
is
and
called
give
like
us diagonal.
Algier or Alja. I need to look it up now.
No, it's okay. No, what I was gonna say is that I feel like sometimes they give us a map at a diagonal when they give us the smaller locational maps,
Yeah,
and that kind of screws up your overall direction.
yeah,
I'm still hoping that we get a hard timeline, like where it's
yeah.
hey, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. There was talk about that before
SFG.
the buyout,
Yeah,
and I'm hoping we get that. Like because I would like the historian part of me would love to have that so I can
yeah.
sit down and do it.
So
I've
the
actually go ahead.
the piece of detail, and I agree. I agree completely. I wish that it feels kind of like the fluff has been both with the IK and with the Warmachine has been sort of scattershot, and they're sort of like giving us pieces of fluff, but not really sort of giving us an idea of when specifically they're happening. So like one of the big things that a lot of like the Mark 1 and Mark 2 fluff did is they gave us like specific dates of when the event was happening at the beginning, and there'd be a timeline somewhere in like, cuz in the rulebook they put out, there'd be sort of a
Mhm.
timeline of events. And there is some of that out there, but none of it sort of combines everything and gives us all the information. And it would be very helpful to sort of know that, and maybe SFG is working on that bit of detail and sort of trying to decide, because like the we know that the IKRPG fluff is sometime after Oblivion. Most people estimate about 5 years, but then there's conflicting things here and there that like this event happens here, but then it's not in the Strangelight fluff. But this event sort of happens around this time, but it's not in this other book. So it'd be great if we could get some sort of timeline of when those kind of
Yeah,
events were happening.
well, wasn't it Requiem? We got that. We got a hard timeline. Like it
We
felt
we
like we
got a
used to get a
time we
hard
got a
timeline.
timeline, but it didn't really. I mean, I can look real quick.
I'm sorry, not Requiem. Reckoning when
Yeah,
Privateer still had it.
yeah, yeah,
Like we used to get a timeline of what happened every so often, so you could figure out exactly what
yeah.
you were doing.
And like
We used to, go
there
ahead.
there is a decent timeline of like past events, but the current sort of what's going on in the world kind of events, they're not really popping up. Um, so the piece of fluff that I'm most excited about, and I think you know what it is that
Me? I don't know. Tell me.
my for me, I
Yeah.
like the what happens in Strangelight with Kador. Um, so
Oh yeah.
so there's
Man, those
two.
Grimkin are gonna be awesome. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just
So
kidding.
there's two stories. One of them is the death details the death of Arusk and how he
Yeah.
died, and the mysterious way he died, and the fact that there was a Lyly's rose on his laid upon his body when the investigation team found him, and that within a mile and a half of his house that he'd sort of been living in retirement had been the landscape had been utterly annihilated.
So, do you think, and this is just me being me,
Yep.
do you think maybe that's a false flag?
It's possible. It could
Or
be
do you
that
think Liel tried to start a battle or tried to start a because I feel like Liel is not in a place where they would want to try to court war with Kador.
Lale. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely. So we have to remember the time period that we're in. So this is pre Winter Corp, and this is when all of the other nobles, they saw weakness in Queen Anne, and there's rumors of infernal stuff happening within the Grey Lords, but their Grey Lords are still around, um, and all of the nobles that have funded the different Winter Corp and pieces of the Cadoran army are starting to pull them back and trying to create city states of their own. And
Yeah,
this
they're
is
making it like feudal almost.
right. They're trying to make it into feudal city states instead of a kingdom. Now we know from the fluff that Queen Anne takes the forces from her kingdom and from Umbri, which is her Vlad, because Vlad was her husband, even though he's dead. And her son is from Umbri, and he takes the forces and uses them to create the Winter Corp, and then in one night, assassinates all of the nobles that are doing this, and then disbands the Winter Corp and the Cadoran army, and some of them are brought into the Winter Corp and given jobs, but like the Winter Corp is started because of all of this happening. At least that's what the Warmachine fluff is. I'm interested to see it told narratively in the IK if we get there. But so the fact that I think it's interesting that a Rusk was killed like right before that happened, because I think a Rusk would have been brought back as a leader of the Winter Corp, and his students.
Do you think he would have come back? I thought like he was truly like he had his fill of war and he was done with it.
Well, the interesting thing about the story is that he basically, so there's a treaty by a Rusk that's like the way to attack a country, but in the rubble they find another book that's sort of his description of how to basically the lessons he learned from the invasion of Lale, and how to turn a occupied country into your country, and how to do it civilly to a point where people will actually side with you instead of the way that Queen Anne had them do it with Lale, which is interesting. So I don't know if he would have necessarily. I think for Khador he would have, not for Queen Anne. But it is sort of Queen Anne's army, so I don't know. Maybe they were getting rid of him and they used it as a way to blame Lale. Whatever happened, it definitely happened like
flag.
Yeah, false flag. It's possible. I don't know.
I mean, maybe I've just read so much
over the
years, like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I hope that some sort of story or narrative comes out of that. I think it'd be very interesting if Severin looked into it, because Severin is his student. Severin is one of the Winter Corp primary warcasters, though Borisuk should be the big narrative character.
Yeah.
But the other story is the one that really has me excited. And in this story,
Grimkin.
Well, in this story,
I'm kidding.
We find out that Sorsha is alive. And not just that she's alive, she has Vlad's sword, she has Vlad's horse, and she has given up her steam-powered man-of-war armor. And she learns that the old witch who she knows stole her son with Vlad also stole a daughter. And that
so there's twins.
There's twins, right. And that the son escaped through the gate during a Hedgehold, but the daughter is still present. And she has recently been seen with the old witch in Old Umbri. Oh, in Umbri. So, and Sorsha is riding in the story, which happens a good bit before the old Umbri probably emerges, towards Umbri to find her. So that is really exciting for me.
I agree. I was just messing with you. I knew what you were gonna.
Yeah.
We gotta start some stuff on the thing for when people listen. They're like, "What is going on with that chat? What are they talking about?"
Yeah.
No, I think that's going to be a great thing.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it's super exciting. I think it's super cool that there's the potential for Sorsha to be in the extended back in that. So Vlad was the hero of my Warmachine story in the past. He's the character that I sort of imagined my army fighting around, and he being the leader of my Khador forces. He's dead now, so I haven't had a character to latch onto for a long period of time. But the fact that there's the potential that we could see a Sorsha, or even just a narrative element of Sorsha affecting characters, and that there's the potential of their daughter and Queen Anne and Vlad, possibly Vlad's son, showing up in the fluff or in the game in the future, is really exciting for me, and that's an element of Warmachine that I have missed because I haven't had a character to imagine and focus my army around.
I'm hoping that you get what you want,
Yep.
or and I said it. I think that would be awesome if you did,
Yep.
because I know everyone always has that person that they like, and uh, that's gonna be great if you can get that.
Yep.
I really really hope so.
I hope so. But the other great things about the fluff and the stories in Strangelight is that, as I said, there's a lot of characters that get mentioned that we didn't know what was going on with them. Stuff like uh, people from the Lael being given positions in the government. Madeline Corbeau being Ord's spy master. Stuff like that is really really exciting and really and it's interesting because Madeline Corbeau actually, in the story, and we've known this for a little while from the previous Requiem fluff, that the king of Signar, Julius, was planning to marry the last surviving daughter of the king of Lael.
Hmm.
They kept her, and this is something that was sort of in the Mark III fluff, but they kept her and kept her safe during the war, and then after the war, she was sort of let free and returned to Lael to sort of form the country together before Oblivion, and she's in a Henchhold scroll with Ashlyn. They're seen together in the Henchhold scroll. Um, but the king of Signar Julius had intended to marry her, and that's why they were sort of as a way to strengthen the bond with Lael. But instead, she ends up marrying the son of King Baird of Ord, and it's revealed in the Strangelight fluff that it was actually Madeline Corbeau that uh, brokered and got that to happen, which is what gave the reward from King Baird was her becoming the spy master for Ord, which I think is a really cool little snippet of fluff.
I agree, especially because so many people used to have her in their armies.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of those characters, a lot of those Merc solos are in Lael, and a lot of the Lely's models from the Lely's Resistance are still around and still have things they're doing. Even down to you remember the Merc pair?
Are you talking about the elf and the gunslinger?
No, the gunslinger and the two solos that one gave the other one tough, the other one gave the other one dodge when they were within like 8 or 10 inches of each
Um,
other.
yeah, hold on. Let me pull up
I forget her
my
name.
phone. Give me a second.
Yeah, I just have to find it.
Master Holt
No,
and
that's the pirate pair.
oh, it starts with a T. That's who you're talking about.
De La Rosa or something.
You're talking about the person Red Kershaw is with.
Yes.
Um, and that is Tarnin de la Rothi.
Uh,
Yeah, it's Red Kershaw and Tarin de la Rosi. He's just a
De
standard
La Rosa,
mercenary,
yeah. So
but she is
she's the new head of the order of the Amethyst Rose
gotcha.
in the fluff. So she's in charge of training the next generation of Amethyst Rose gun mages. So yeah, so there's a lot of. I think that it's great that there's a lot of characters. Yeah, and of course, as soon as I know her name, I now see it in the fluff. Yeah, she's the head
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Order of the Thorn, an instructor in charge of training the next generation of gun mages for Loyal.
yeah. It's great. Like going through the fluff. Um, it came out in what, December? Is that when
Yeah.
they brought it out?
Yep.
Um, and then seeing also how they are doing. Did we mention that they're including it in the Humble Bundle?
No. So the Strangelight is not in the Humble Bundle. So bundle.
Oh,
So
it's not.
we should mention the Humble Bundle. So if you're listening to the podcast, the week of the 13th of March, there's currently a Humble Bundle going on,
There you
for
go.
all
Yeah.
of the pre-Strangelight Requiem uh, books and campaigns and adventures, and some of the and if you back for the $35 or $30 to $35 level or more, you actually get some original D6 IKRPG stuff as well. So you'll be able to play either system, and all of the proceeds are going to charity, benefiting. I think it's
Well,
like Gamers Life or something like that.
yeah. I technically it's Humble Bundle still takes
They get a
their
percentage. They get a cut, and SFG gets a cut. But everything over, I think, like $25 goes to um, the the charity
yeah, which
for
is awesome.
the $30 to $35 level.
It's still going. Oh yeah, here it is. The Ike. There's 22 days left on it
Yep.
as of
It's
the
for the month of
13th of
March, I think,
March.
pretty much.
Yep. And they have like they have the VTT tokens, so the
Yep.
tabletop simulator. So you can do that. They have some of the maps, which are
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
They have
Um,
the Crix maps and stuff. Yeah, it's a great pack, and it's definitely worth doing, and it's a great charity, and it gets you involved with it gets you all the rules you need to play both the 5e or the D6, depending on which your group would prefer of the role playing game. And I think between me and Alec, we can definitely say that the role playing game is great.
yeah, it is amazing. I love it a lot. Um, so
Have
much.
Have you
I
decided
played so much.
what we're gonna do now that we have some more players?
Yeah, I already I told you I had stuff written. I
So
had so much
are
stuff
we
written.
gonna keep the characters where we have already and add new characters, or are we going to start fresh
Yes.
and do
So you have.
Strangelight?
I'm gonna give you guys. I'm gonna give you guys the option. You can either start a new character,
Okay.
or you can bring an existing character in, and I have a way for you to bring existing characters in and make them work.
Okay. I kind of like where I left off with my existing. I mean, I guess Robbie's character will probably want to play his existing character. My character's cool, but I think he feels too powerful in some ways. And so I might start a new
Well,
character, especially if we're going to go into Strangelight, and I might have the opportunity to delve into some of the Strangelight characters.
yeah, and some of the Strange characters, they can be very very cool.
Yeah. All right. So we've been talking for about 50 minutes. So let's move on. Let's talk about the Warmachine fluff. So the stuff
All right.
that's come out. Well, is there more about Strangelight you want to talk about?
So we did find out what happened to the Baron that's in charge of what's I can't remember what his name is. The Baron, he did survive, which I thought was really cool because I thought he
The,
was straight up dead.
so talk about the Baron. Who is this
So,
Baron? How is he related to the
um,
story?
so his name, I just blanked on it because I
What
moved
nation
away.
is he part of?
He's not. He's part of. So he is technically he's a citizen of Thignar, but he is kind of his own thing. He
How is he endangered?
so he went into Arcane
You have
in a
given us no background into this Baron.
Okay, so this Baron, his family died
Okay.
when. Hold on, I'm gonna blank on his name because that's how it is.
Don't worry about his name.
Strathmoore.
Just give us the
His
background.
Baron is it's Baron Strathmoore. He
Okay.
was in charge and actually started the Strangelight series,
Okay.
or Strangelight Institute. Now his family died. They drowned on the way to zoo. So he actually developed a refrigeration technology. So they were
Okay.
able to bring back all of this great fruit, vegetables, and other animals from zoo back to the mainland and bring it in. He made a
Okay.
huge amount of money, became a baron. Now, his family, and then under a storm, they drowned. Now, the
Okay.
thing is, he was actually warned by Old Witch, who he calls Clickety Clack, which is one of my favorite things. It's actually one of the
So
books that's in the Humble
where is
Bundle.
this fluff from?
So originally, it's in the Wicked Ways
Okay.
book, which is six
The
stories.
short stories book.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was written by a couple different authors,
Yep.
Aaron Rundell, Matt Wilson, and Matt Getz. Um, and one of those things is all about Baron Strathmoore and what he's doing and stuff like that.
Okay.
Now, I found it really cool because that he was able to get to his family. So he is a living person going through hurricane, and
Mm-hmm.
the only other person who has successfully done this is Testament of Menoth. So it's wild that he was able to do that. Um,
Well,
because
and stay sane.
and
The
we don't know if
deniers were
he's
sent
safe.
there alive and went insane.
Yes, we don't know if he is fully sane.
Okay. Well,
That is,
but he
you
made it
know,
back. He made it there and back.
and he was able to bring his daughter and his wife's soul because he'd been keeping their bodies in refrigerated state, and he was able to bring their souls back and put them back into their bodies. And then you have Abigail Thorpe and stuff like this. So some of the people who we've heard about from previous Strangelights have
Mm-hmm.
actually continued on in the series, and they've moved past, some of the things that have gone on. And I thought it was really cool that he went to, I think it was like on the 77th floor in the 77th room, he found his family and brought it back. And like the dedication that you have there, because I honestly thought he was dead, and here he's not. So that to me, I was like, that's really awesome. Like I thought that
So
dude was gone.
in the
Um,
fluff, this
uh,
is the reason that did he create the machine to break the hole in the Ursane, which the Grim can use to come through? Was that
so
the old
he
witch tricking
he
him
did
into making that so that he could go try and find his family?
so he took different technologies. So the whole Wicked Ways series is him gathering different technologies, um, and putting them together to use for
Create the
Old Witch. Like
machine.
he
Yep.
wasn't tricked. He knew what he was gonna do. Like she was like, "Hey, you want your family back? You need to do this." And so the orb that was actually on top of
Right, but did
her
he know
big
that the
walker.
Grimkin was going to come through in exchange?
Yes. So in, I think it's book 3, the one that's written by Matt. It covers some of the things that's when Abigail Thorpe and a couple of the other people, um, they actually witness someone dying and then their soul passing through, and then gremlins coming through, and they actually have to
Mhm.
fight off them and some hollow men and even a uh, the Rattler.
Okay.
And they actually have to they work with some Cadorans until the Cadorans kill someone, which I don't want to spoil. Um, so when they came back and reported back, he learned, oh, so if I open up a gateway, gremlins are or not gremlins, Grimkin are coming through. And when he opened up this giant piece, it actually opened up, and that's where all of the the uh
Mm-hmm. The
the
armies.
people really came through.
Mm-hmm.
The armies and
And the
all of
deniers.
their horrors and the deniers, like that's when
Yep.
they fully pushed through. Um, and he basically did that because he was trying to get his family back to
Mm-hmm.
life. So to find out that he's actually alive, I thought was pretty cool. Like the dedication, the love,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty awesome. Um, and that's where I'm really excited to, with our IKRPG group, to possibly bring Strange Light fluff in, and stuff like that, because those types of characters aren't necessarily dedicated to, oh, I need to make all the money, I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you come up with a new character, it's what if and you work in the strange light, what motivates your character? It's
Yep.
not money, it's not power, it's not a weapon, it's something that it pushes the average player to do something different. And that's what I'm really excited about. Um so
Mm-hmm.
that's yeah. Anyways, that's one of the things I'm really excited about with the IKRPG. Now, you said you wanted to talk about War Machine Fluff. So
Yep.
what is your favorite story in the War Machine Fluff?
So for me, I think my favorite story is the first narrative. It's let me get back to the library. So for those of you that don't know, the if you have a subscription to the app, it gives you access to, and there's a little bit of fluff outside of it. But
What you should cover why the subscription really helps. It's not just the library, but or what else does it give you with the subscription?
so the subscription gives you unlimited army lists instead of I think you can build 6 normally or
5.
5. Okay, so it gives you
I think it's
unlimited
5.
army
I
lists. So I think
I
I
have the
have like
subscription, so I don't know.
I have anywhere between 40 and 50 at any given time in my app for all sorts of different factions. I probably have 20 Orgoth lists right now because that's the army I'm playing. And so every variation of Horusk list, or we're just finishing a journeyman league, so I've had 2 or 3 versions of my list for every tier change and every level throughout. But for me, the reason I subscribe is it gives me access to the fluff, and so you also get access to narrative missions and a campaign, the Black Tide
Mhm.
campaign, which is very interesting. Me and JD played through the first season of the 4 seasons of the Black Tide, and the missions were interesting and cool. They were different. They were not always balanced, and so sometimes it was you had less stuff, but you're trying to achieve this one goal, and if you achieve it, you win. If you don't, and the tables that they made you play on were very interesting. There's one mission where there's basically 2 trench networks that run the length of the table with like 12 inches separating them, and it's sort of about um, trying to get into each other's trench networks and then take objectives from behind them, which is I think could be make for a really cool board and a really cool scenario. I don't know if it was necessarily great for a campaign where it's just like one mission you play one time for a campaign, um, but it also gives you access to the story and the narrative that's put out. And this both gives you it both gives you access to stories about the characters that are being that we see in the Mark IV armies that are being put out. But then it also gives you access to the compendiums. So every main army or cadre that comes out gets a compendium, and it gives you the specific fluff behind each model or piece. Or so back in Mark 1 and Mark 2, when they were releasing army books, releasing rule books, you used to get a rule book that had a narrative story that went throughout the book, um, with aspects of each of the different armies that was in the book, and then you'd get a section of a unit with a blurb about with a fluff blurb about the model, whether it was the nature of the character and who they were, the kind of weapons that they had, or the how they were developed, and what makes this jack type unique or whatever. And these compendiums do that and keep that narrative pushing forward, and lets you sort of get a feel for who your army is, not just what your army does on the tabletop.
So
And I
it's
really
not
like
just
that they.
run forth, smashy, smashy.
Yep.
It's why do you run forth and smashy, smashy?
Right. And there's both Forces of Warmachine articles, which sort of talk about the faction or the army within the faction. And then there's the compendiums, which talk about the specific formation or aspects of the army, like the Colossals, the some of the 80 millimeter base solos have articles, stuff like that. And then there's also stories about the individual characters as well, which are
I
called.
think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of those. The old
Yeah.
codexes really, used to
Yep.
inspire me,
The army books.
especially when I used to do kid bashes and stuff like that. Those
Yeah.
books really helped, and
Yeah.
I'm liking that they're coming back.
Books. Yeah, so there's heroes and villains, which gives you all stories of and sort of the backstory behind around all the different characters. So if I had to pick a backstory that I like the best, I think Yana's story is my favorite. She originally her parent, one of her parents is actually a Cocyte. One of her parents is from Umbri, and she grows up in Umbri, and then the parents split, and the father takes her away from her mother because he thinks that her Umbri family is basically devil worshipping, and doesn't approve of it, and
I mean,
takes her
they
to the
are
north.
though.
What?
They are kind of. Well, not devil
Effectively, I
worshipping,
mean,
but
yeah, they're occult. They're very occult, and it's sort of the nature of what the old Umbri army is going to be. That's going to come out in this summer. Um, and her story is sort of the introduction of what we could see in Old Umbri. It doesn't really tell us specifically. And when she came out, she was advertised as being able to work for both Wintercorp and Old Umbri. Hopefully that's still true with SFG. Because I think her feat could definitely benefit from a bunch of living models instead of a bunch of jacks being the primary thing that runs around with her. Yeah. But there's stories about Horus the Betrayed for Orgoth, and how they found him and brought him into their forces. There's stories about Lylyth, who's the model you're painting right now.
yep.
There's stories about Tyrus, the Nissus Asira Spiders, he's the sort of the leader of House, is it Kalis, which is
Yeah.
the name of the army for Dusk. There's Captain Huxley. I mean, there's introduces so for me, I always I have to be painting the models that I'm playing with to be excited about playing the game, and I also want to have some sort of narrative backstory or background to sort of get me thinking about how the army plays, and the who they are when I'm playing an army. And if you have any kind of connection with that listener, I think that subscription is just $5 a month is worth it, because it gives you
Absolutely.
access to all these stories. And I mean, it even gives you access. I know you're not a big fan of this, but they're starting to release when it connects to things. Some of the old fluff is starting to find its way in. And so the Mark of Cain and the Way of Cain, which were two novels that came out back in Mark II, Mark III time period about Cain.
I mean, I like those books. I
Right.
just I was a little I wanted more new stuff.
Well, they put them in the app, and there's now a Wrath of Cain, which is the telling of Cain and the Gravedigger story, from the perspective of the characters from that series.
You don't mean Gravediggers, you mean
No,
uh
so I've started reading the Wrath of Cain book, and it starts out with Cynthia, Cain's daughter, on a Gravedigger's airship going into to attack
oh, that's right. I was
the
thinking
Orgoth.
about who were the Hellslingers? I thought you were
Well,
referring
yeah,
to them.
I'm sure there's gonna be a bunch about them because it's called the Wrath of Cain, but so I'm sure there'll be a bunch about the Hellslingers, but the Gravediggers are covered in it as well.
Gotcha. Yeah,
And
I always think about them first. So don't get me wrong.
and
When I get it to play Gravediggers, I can't
I'm
wait.
not 100% sure about it, but it might actually be the first story where we see them like on the airships preparing to strike, and actually doing an airdrop on the enemy position in the fluff. I think it might be the first story that does that.
I thought we already got one.
Did we?
Yeah, I thought
I mean,
it was
that
when we met.
they're on the airships in Stormbreak, but they're not. There isn't Gravedigger paratroopers.
No, I thought we got one with the captain. What's his name? Hold on.
Um, yeah, if there is, I haven't found it and read it in the fluff yet.
I mean, I might be wrong. I might have,
It's
fever dreamed
possible.
it.
It's possible. But yeah, there isn't a Gravedigger's compendium article yet. And there isn't a story about the Gravediggers yet. It isn't Way of Cain. It could have shown up in like
Captain Buckaresque. I thought isn't it in there?
Let me
Or sorry,
see.
Buck Hasker. People are gonna be like, "Can Alex speak?" No, not really.
Yeah, not really. Yes, I'm joking with Alec. I'm not
No,
picking
no,
on him.
I do.
Well, we've gotten a lot of comments lately about me picking on you. So,
It's okay.
yeah.
Oh, we forgot to mention that Allison Jakes from the Kickstarter game years ago is a colonel now,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
funny because she outranks Kane.
yeah. There's a
I guess
there's a heroes and villains for Cynthia Sin Roscoe, who's Kane's daughter.
no. So Hasker, I guess it doesn't actually talk about him dropping in. It just says that he's in the Gravediggers, and it talks about their
Yeah.
airborne
I don't think
insertions.
I've
But
read. Oh, okay, I see Heskers on Heroes and Villain, but I don't think I've read either of their stories yet.
gotcha.
But it's
No,
possible. It's
so I
possible
still
they can
think
do it.
my favorite is for all of the new fluff is the two part that really kind of, it's not technically two part, but it's the difference between Magnus and Carver.
Oh
So
yeah,
you have the first one is
Unbowed and then
um
Unstoppable.
Unbowed. Yeah. And then yeah, that's, or I think Unstoppable is first, and then Unbowed is the second one.
Possible.
But those are my two favorite because it, I love those characters in the old fluff, and I
Hmm.
love that they are in the new fluff too. And the you saw that they really are different. They've moved on, they've changed a little bit. They're carrying some more baggage, and I like that. I like that they're, because not everyone is going to be the super awesome mega hero. Sometimes war takes a toll on you, and especially with Carver, it shows. Like,
Yep.
he kills one of his best friends and his favorite lieutenants because his brain starts flipping. He has a flashback, and
Yep.
it's, that happens. And
I
I think that that's cool that you see that happening because you don't always see the person being weak. You're always like, oh, strong battle, stuff like this, but some of those kind of show what's going on behind the scenes.
I'm definitely interested to see what, because that story is also where we first saw that Kane was alive, because he talks to Magnus before Carver shows up in the Magnus story. He's in
Yeah.
the bar
Also,
with
that's when you
Magnus.
see Stannis lose his horse and his leg.
Yeah,
Carver eats one of his legs.
yeah. So yeah, so there's definitely some interest in that, and I'm hoping we get some more stories like that this year. I think my favorite is the Dark Rising, which was the first bit of fluff for Mark IV we got, which is, it's of course it's my favorite because Boris Yuke's the main character, and it's about him
Of course.
running into the Orgoth invasion, when he's tasked with exploring what they think is Crick's raids on a town, and they show up, him and his little band of ragtag Wintercorp misfits shows up, and they see a full on invasion of the Orgoth into Kador, and that's sort of them fleeing to Paul Revere and ring the bells to say the British are coming, but say the Orgoth are coming.
Yes.
And then it ends with him and Volkova, who is both sort of an enemy of his, and because she's a Grey Lord who betrayed her people to save her life. And Boris Yuke is the one that led the hunting squads to go kill all
The Purge.
to purge all the Grey Lords, and so
Hold on, hold on. You say like she betrayed the Grey Lords.
she
The
did
Grey Lords were
well,
doing some sketchy stuff.
right. I
Like,
mean, they were infernalists, but
yes.
she
They weren't
informed,
like innocent.
right, but she's like, everyone is suspicious of her because she's a Grey Lord within the
Yeah.
Winter Corp, and she's like one of the last ones alive. But at the same time, she's also alive because I don't want to say turned traitor on the Grey Lords, but informed on them, and but she saw Boris you kill her friends who were Grey Lords that didn't comply.
Well, I mean,
And so
that's,
she wants
they were,
revenge on him, and he doesn't trust her because she's a Grey Lord, and they're a perfect match in the story. Though we haven't seen them together in any of the other future stories, which is kind of unfortunate. But they end up running into the old witch. They get sent on a mission together at the end of the series, in episode in part 6, and they run into the old witch and are given a choice, and it sort of sets up Borisuk to be the new champion that Vlad was, I think. But then we haven't seen any of that in the story future. And now we're getting Old Umbry, which is like the old witch's cadre, and there's a champion within the model they showed off at Christmas, is her like chosen champion. So I don't know.
I mean, it's gonna be awesome. I like all the new fluff. I'm excited by it.
Yep.
I'm excited where the storyline is going. Um, and the fact that we are here for it, because I feel like things had stagnated for a while, but here they are jumping around.
Yep.
And we're kind of like getting in on learning all these new people, and
I think it's
along with keeping some of the old.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. But I really do think that the story is starting to get interesting, because with the Wrath of Cain book, and the Dragonfall, which was the narrative from or Warfare Weekend last year, which was the big dragon table.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the Orgoth invasion expand outside of Khador. So like they're in Ord, they're in Signar for Dragonfall, and so the war is expanding, and the invasion is expanding, and so and then there's also stories like Waking the Dead, which is a story about Nakain from Crix, and her and the Orgoth sort of working together as allies, but not as friends, and trying to kill a god. Find a way to kill a god together, which is kind of interesting.
They've killed gods in previous stuff.
Right, but so to gloss over the details of Dragonfall, Orgoth offers the Authonk of Blightergast to Torok in exchange for them teaching them how to kill a god, so that they can get revenge on Morrow. And
well, isn't it Morrow and Thamar? It's not just Morrow.
But so it's to get revenge on Thamar by killing her brother Morrow, is from what I understand. From what I understand of the story.
That's what I thought it was. Okay. I mean, technically, it's hurting both of them, but it's killing Morrow.
Right.
But it's Thamor was the one who brokered the deal.
Right.
And they don't think they can kill Thamor, or they think this is gonna be more painful to Thamor.
And so the story is about Nakain trying to find a way to tap into a location to tap into the ley lines to build an Orgoth temple, so that they can basically use the power of the ley lines to suck the god's soul in and empower them, Crix and Orgoth. And so they're in a mutually beneficial but not friendly alliance. And so Crix and Orgoth are the bad guys again, which is interesting. So they're sort of a pair of bad guys, but they're also not friendly. So it makes sense if they're arguing against each other. And Orgoth keeps trying.
I was going to say that they know they can't trust each other, because as soon as one of them has the chance of backstab,
they'll
that's going to happen.
Right. As soon as one gets the advantage, the other one will be cut out and killed. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. It sets up adding a second army like the Gravediggers, is adding to the escalation of war by adding a new powerful force that can be deployed quickly anywhere. I'm really hoping that we're starting to see the beginnings of the of Zoo, because the Orgoth there's a story, a Brineblood story, Brineblood and Bilgewater, and the Orgoth are in the Southern Creoles in that story.
That's with Umbop, right?
Yep, Umbop. It covers Ragemonger running into Cyrafel, and then Rangemonger patching an artifact he gets from Seraphil to Umbop. And then Umbop running from Oriax, who is the Curseborn cadre warcaster for Orgoth, and fighting him. And then he passes it on to Foulblood, who's the new warlock in the Shadows and Scum box. And you get to see that the Shadows and Scum models, both sides of them show up in that story, and fighting against Orgoth in the southern Creels. So Orgoth is all over the place, and we know from the IK books that Scar and her Black Fleets have been down there. So I'm really hoping that the story is going to start turning towards Zoo, and we start getting more and more interesting things that push us towards that part of the story.
I mean, I agree with you there. I would love to see more on Zoo, especially with what the IKRPG told us about who is there and my favorite faction. All right, I think so. I have 2 minutes left on her for my 2 hour. I finished it. Well, there's touch-ups definitely that could be done, but I think that is she is a tabletop quality ready.
So talk for those that are listening to us. What does she look like?
So this is Lylyth 5. Okay. She is gone full dragon, so she used to be a woman, and she has a bow. She's always had a bow in previous iterations, and
the model is huge.
She's huge.
It's bigger than a paragon, and more like heavy beast sized.
So I was trying to get at least 5 colors on. By my count, I have 17 colors on her. So I went a little overboard because I had some time, but also some of it was a little sloppy because
what are the major aspects and details of her? So how did you approach painting? How did you approach painting her?
So I looked at what did I think she could be if she was going to go dragon? What was she going to be? And I looked at some of the previous ones, and they had like a greenish skin in some of the fluff, and they also had definite purples. So I did 4 different shades of green. So her body is a dark green, where I mixed a coal black and dark camo green, and then I did different accents. So she has orange in these highlight points in both her eyes and on her wings, and then on the tips of her wings she has purple, and then her bow has 3 different types of green in it. And I tried to get almost like a Destiny 1 hunter bow coming, where you have these weird spiralized looks, and I did that by doing fluorescent green, transparent green, and mixing and metallic mixing medium.
And this is over a black and white Zenithal?
Yes. Well, I did dry brushing technically for it.
Well, yeah, you dry brush the Zenithal instead of using
instead of spraying it. I thought technically Zenithal is when you spray it. No. But yeah, I think and then I used different silvers, different bronzes. I did some of the different highlights where you see it looks like
her hair is purple with metal and looks like leather strapping.
Yes. So I did 4 different types of leather. I did golden brown. I did dark golden brown, light golden brown. I did a couple other tans stuff.
And these are these are a mix of P3 and Pro Acrylic colors?
Yes. They're all P3 and Pro Acrylic. And so how
are you going to finish her base? Because that's a requirement for having your models painted for the armies. You have to have a finished base.
I'm gonna sand it. I don't have sand right here. I have 2 minutes left on it. So what I'm probably gonna do is after I do
sand
the
glue, base and paint the rim.
Yeah, and that'll be done.
Okay.
So I got her done in 2 hours, which was, I'll be honest, kind of stressful.
Yeah, I believe it.
But she might not be super beautiful looking at her up close, but I think from across the table, I
think she looks good. Me seeing her in the camera right now, I think she looks good. I think the wings pop really well. I think if the first thing you want to do is work on the bow and work on the armor. The armor is very muddy, is sort of muddy, and it looks, you can see the the white through it, and it
through it.
it
Yeah.
needs to have more definition. If it's whether or not that's like a black lining or just putting a wash on it to shade it down, and then doing some highlights on the surface.
Yeah.
I think the purples on her cloak look good. Obviously, they could use some highlight.
Highlights.
And her bow needs some better definition, I think. For me personally.
I didn't want to lose the like kind of like flowing spiral look that I was going for from like obviously the Destiny video game.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to get that feel of like the hunter's bow.
Uh,
But yeah, that's for
I'm
2 hours.
familiar of the general idea of it. I have not played Destiny, so I have no context. To me, it looks unfinished.
I mean, yeah, it's.
But for 2 hours, it is definitely playable. A quick finishing of the base and painting the rim, and it would definitely be a model that I would not have any problem seeing on the tabletop. And the fact that you did it in 2 hours is impressive.
Yeah, that was when you guys see the
video,
the videos of this as well as the other things. I think I could have pushed. I probably could have done it in 7 or, like Jay said, in 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
For that box, I actually made a mistake when my brain when I was doing it. I was like, all right, it's 3 smalls, 1 medium.
Okay, so he's talking. So Alec, you need to split what you're talking about.
So my brain.
So
okay,
so we're talking about Lylyth. He's now talking about the Chimera side of the Shadows and Scum box.
So when I first looked at it, I missed looking at one of the solos. I just looked at it as 3 units, a solo, a caster, and a war beast. Mm-hmm. And all of them, they have detail on them. They look good, but in my brain, I missed one of them. So I was like, oh, I can do 5 models or 6 models in 5 hours. And
yeah, that model you were missing was in with the Brine Bloods model.
Yeah, he looks like he's in there. And the thing is, I spend more time on my solos and I spend more time on my warcaster.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was like, oh, I'll just crush through the 3 units, which are called the shades.
Yep.
And get them done, get them quick, and then hit this one solo, and then hit the warcaster and hit the beast. And then I was doing it, and I realized, I realized I had a second solo, and I was like, I don't have time.
Yep.
So it's been a struggle, but I'm currently finishing it up, and then I'll do my overview, and then it'll show up on the YouTube channel hopefully by Monday.
And remind us what that channel's called.
Oh, that channel's called Let's Get You Painted,
and it'll be in the show notes below. So check it out.
Yeah. But thank you for everyone for coming on out to both the Twitch stream as well as the YouTube. I mean, we can still talk about other things, but yeah, that was my stressful point of me painting.
I think this is this is a pretty good spot to end it. We've been talking for a little more than an hour, almost an hour and a half. So yeah. So good job, Alec.
Thank you. It was a lot of work. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to here, let's close this out.
Right. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, in the show notes, you can find our link tree that has all the links to our various social media accounts for the Atlanteans. This week, we'll also have in the show notes Alec's links to Alec's new YouTube channel, which is where he'll be posting the his painting series to come. And go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of those episodes. And thank you very much. Alec, do you have anything else you want to mention?
Nope. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right. And
I gotta get a video of me waving because I do that, and I do it every single time. Like when I go hi in the beginning, I wave because that's how my brain works.
Yeah,
I gotta get a video of this.
We'll be back in about 2 weeks with Joe, and we'll be talking about new models and fun and stuff that we're expecting to see, or depending on when it is that we've just seen it from Adepticon. So, all right. Catch everyone later. This is Jay and Alec.
Bye.